Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani here. Today's video is going to be on female hormones. Could your female hormone imbalances be making you tired, fatigued? We're going to dive into it. We'll go into the physiology as well. Before we do, please smash that like button down below. There'll be a little subscribe button. Hit that too. Put your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. Really curious. All right. So when we start to have female hormone imbalances, right, we can look at your hormones in a couple different ways. We can look at your adrenals, which are primarily on a circadian rhythm. They kind of cycle throughout the day based on cortisol. So more light, cortisol goes up in the morning. As the sun goes down, cortisol goes down. So it's on a light and dark circadian pattern. So that's our cortisol. Our adrenals also make DHEA and precursor sex hormones from that DHEA. So that's important because the more adrenal stress we have, the less ability we have to buffer our sex hormones through our adrenal glands. That's very important. Also, when we look at our female hormones, right, we have the first half of the cycle, follicular. That's primarily where estrogen's made between day 9 and 13. And then progesterone follows up around day 15. And the last half of the cycle, the luteal phase, is where progesterone predominates. Now, we start to have a lot of PMS issues when we start to either have fluctuations in estrogen or estrogen starts to go too high and or progesterone starts to drop. Especially in the luteal phase, you can see progesterone drop out early. Now, why would progesterone drop out early? Progesterone is also a precursor building block to cortisol. Or I should say, yes, it's a precursor building block to cortisol. So if you look at the different steroid hormone pathways, it goes pregnenolone, 17-hydroxyprogesterone, progesterone, then it goes cortisol. So why is this important? Well, if you're stressed and you're making cortisol to buffer that stress, remember, cortisol is an anti-inflammatory hormone. And so if you're dealing with stress, you may be pumping out this cortisol to deal with the stress and inflammation, and your body may be shunting progesterone downstream to help deal with the cortisol reserve. So it's like chopping up parts of your house to build a fire because you're cold, right? Because you made the decision that it's more important that we burn it than use it to be part of the house. Well, the body's making a decision because the body's almost always hardwired to deal with stress now versus long-term healing and down the road. The body is all about survival in the moment, not about long-term. And so the body will sacrifice hormones like progesterone, right? Progesterone is a progestational hormone. You need it for fertility. Very important. The corpus luteum makes it when you start to get pregnant, and you get HCG that also perpetuates that as well. So progesterone is a progestational hormone. So the body doesn't care about getting pregnant and being fertile and having kids when you're stressed because, hey, that's not time. So it's trying to short in reserve. It's like, hey, if you're used to going out to eat once a week and having some amenities and getting a massage, well, that's gone now because you lost your job, maybe money's tight. So you're just like you would pull back on the extra things. Your body looks at having kids and all that extra energy that goes into growing a baby as an extra thing. So progesterone will get depleted to deal with the stress hormones. Also, progesterone is really important. Guess what? For energy, for mood. It helps open up the GABA chloride channels in the brain. So relaxation, down regulating and downshifting from stress. So very important. Also, when you start to get chronically stressed, you start to have circadian rhythm problems. So like I mentioned earlier with that circadian rhythm of higher cortisol in the morning, lower at night, guess what starts to happen? That cortisol can start to be low in the morning, so you're fatigued, and then it goes up at night. And so you can actually have a reverse cortisol pattern where you start to get more tired but wired and can't sleep at night, and then you're fatigued during the day. So you can have that, or you can just be a low flat line where there's very little HPA axis signaling because that brain, that feedback loop from the brain, hypothalamus pituitary is not working. So you can get this flat type of cortisol line. That's also a problem because that means mood's flat, energy is flat, sleep is flat, stress handling capacity and resilience is flat. So very, very important. So when we look at progesterone, really important, got to make sure that's dialed in. If it's low, there's probably HPA axis issues. There's probably cortisol imbalances. And obviously, too, if there's chronic cortisol issues, guess what's happening to DHEA? DHEA will also be dropping. So then your ability to buffer out the sex hormones on the estrogen side also goes down because DHEA is that important reserve byproduct to deal with the estrogen too. And so especially as you get older and you get perimenopausal and menopausal as a woman, you need that DHEA reserve to make some of the sex hormones. If not, you can kind of go through a really bad menopause. Lots of hot flashes, lots of mood issues, skin, collagen, elasticity, libido, vaginal dryness, the whole 9 yards. So hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know. Put it down below as well. Again, if you have fatigue, we don't ever want to go all in. So I'm kind of making this video to be a little bit more on the female hormone side. But guess what? As a female or even a male, guess what? We want to look at thyroid too, right? Do you have cold hands, cold feet, hair loss? Maybe we have to rule out that thyroid as well. Do you know thyroid's the most popular autoimmune condition out there, especially for women? I think it's 20% of the population has some kind of thyroid issue on the female side. So it's pretty popular. So that being said, it's something you may also want to rule out, especially if your fatigue happens more cyclically, either around menstruation or in the last half of your cycle or premenstrually before you bleed or during bleeding. Then you can definitely guess that there's probably more of a female hormone pattern in there, where thyroid, you would just see it kind of more all the time. And again, progesterone is also important because progesterone helps stimulate the thyroid peroxidase enzyme, which is the enzyme that helps bind tyrosine and iodine together to make thyroid hormone. So we need progesterone to do that. And also, if we are low in iodine too, iron, if we're low in iron too, we need iron is an important cofactor. It's important for aerobic metabolism and carrying oxygen. And then also iodine is important as well. But again, if you have autoimmune issues, you got to be very careful of using anything more than the RDA supplementally, because you can exacerbate autoimmune issues. So if there's autoimmune stuff going on, I typically don't recommend using more than what the RDA recommends, which is 150 micrograms, just because of the autoimmune issue. So I always recommend, if we're going to use iodine down the road with zinc, selenium, get the autoimmune diet going, get everything calmed out regarding inflammation, so we don't end up putting more gasoline on the fire. So when I see patients with female hormone issues, we're going to look at the cortisol rhythm. We're going to look at that cortisol pattern. We're going to look especially in that luteal phase, because that's where progesterone tends to be the most vulnerable. You can see the biggest, issue, because progesterone should be popping up in that luteal phase, 15 to 28 or so, 27. If it drops out soon, it's a problem. Or if it's low in general and has a small luteal phase versus going up high enough, then that's a sign that we have issues. And almost always, the adrenals are playing a role with that, because they're pulling that progesterone to make stress hormones. And when you're making stress hormones on the cortisol side, well, that's made from the outer part of the adrenal glands. The adrenals have an inner part, the medulla, that also makes adrenaline. And so adrenaline can also be depleted too. And adrenaline also has similar issues, kind of like progesterone can pull from cortisol. Guess what? Adrenaline can pull from dopamine. And dopamine is really important for focus, sweet cravings. It's that neurotransmitter that peaks up when you have a loving connection, or someone likes a post on Facebook, or you get a text from someone that you haven't seen in a while, that little pink, that's going to be dopamine. And so if you're chronically stressed, lots of adrenaline and cortisol work together, right? Adrenaline is the catalyst. Cortisol is the wave that comes behind it. And so if you're chronically making adrenaline too, you could be depleting dopamine, and dopamine is really important for the cravings, the mood, etc. And that can also cause other issues in and around the female hormone problems, the PMS, the mood issues, the irritability, all of that behind it, the depression, etc. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, feel free. There'll be links down below where you can click and schedule a consult with myself or my colleagues worldwide. We're here to help you and provide good, holistic, functional medicine support for you. If you enjoyed it, put a comment down below, thumbs up, share with friends or family, get the word out, guys. I appreciate it. Question for you here, real fast. Urine came back yellow. Can you help a male 47? So urine yellow, back pain. Okay, so I'm guessing there's some type of kidney infection, inflammation, potentially. I mean, good to get a good urinalysis. Make sure there's no bacterial issue. That's usually a good first start. Be good to kind of rule that out on the conventional side. And again, that may be something you'll need to see your conventional doctor with, because it's more of an acute issue. But I would typically, work on, why did that happen, right? How did that happen? Why did that happen? Look at the diet, look at the lifestyle factors, maybe use some herbals, maybe use some different things to kind of help knock that down if it's not so acute and painful. But again, out of the gate, if it's really acute, you should probably go see your conventional doc on that one. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. Comments down below. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Take care, y'all. Bye.